come out to play.
In understanding that my sense of self comes from my sense of community, I can agree that my community is self. I can agree that I must contribute to the world around me, and to do so need the strength of a warrior. What makes a warrior? A warrior is one who can look within, have insight, find solace, strength, and purity of being, and apply this to everyday life. A warrior has the tools to write his own story, and the power to care for his community as a family. We all have this power. It is whether we know we do.
And with this said, now I think it's time to ring the alarm. Wake up!
You have to let it all go, Mia. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind.
It is through the internal world that we formulate and manifest our external world. It is through the mind that chaos becomes organized, and what we desire, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes our reality. Having the ability to hardwire this understanding can make one accomplish what one thought to be impossible, push past our limits, and really allow us to fully live into our dreams. It is time to free your mind.
Peace, my beautiful people. Welcome to Guazabara Media, your source for socially conscious information. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Febo, founder and CEO of Guazabara Insights, LLC, an educational services provider aimed at raising social consciousness and uplifting our communities. You reach our social conscious education series, episode 7, entitled Mind Over Matter. So one of the biggest gifts that creation has endowed upon mankind is the gift of the mind. And so many of us are walking around not really truly understanding how much power lies behind our own personal minds. Not just our personal minds, but the mind as a collective entity as well. The mind being a collection center of information, all the information you're gaining from your senses, your heart, your brain, what other people tell you, how you lived as you grew up. All these different things come together to form what your collective mind is. And the mind is broken up into a couple of different components. We have our conscious mind, our superconscious mind, and our unconscious mind. Our conscious mind is you being able to pay attention right now to this video. Our superconscious mind is the mind connected at the level of humanity, of all information that's shared within all of mankind. And then we have our unconscious mind, which is something I want to focus on in this specific episode. The unconscious mind is a part of the mind that works without you having to pay attention to it. This is where all of the things that you store in regards to what you believe about yourself, your identity, your self-esteem, your spiritual beliefs, anything that has to do with how you want to orient your life, you program within your unconscious. Something you put in the back, you store it, and you don't really have to pay attention to it. You just let it flow the way it needs to flow. A lot of us are lost in regards to the power of our mind because we don't truly understand the importance of ourselves. And I'm here to tell you that you're important. You're so important that you are a collection of trillions of little lives that eat, that breathe, that rest, that divide, that teach their offspring, that struggle to survive. All of these coming together to form different organs, to form different systems, to come together to form your life, your perspective, and your view. The same way every single human being sort of comes together to form the perspective of humanity, the story of humanity. And every single one of these little lives or cells are composed of trillions of little atoms that come together and have different properties and react in certain ways in order to give life to everything that you see around you. And you're so important that all of these little atoms were actually born in the inside of stars. So you are literally made of star stuff. Not only are you made of star stuff, but the atoms themselves are really kind of just made out of space. Atoms are 98% space, so it's fair to say that you as a human being are made up of 98% space. 2% the particles that are reacting, and it's on these particles that I want to focus on. These particles, the study of them is called quantum physics. The conclusions that they were able to come up with in regards to studying these particles is that the mind is inseparable from reality. Reality would not exist if it wasn't for the mind, the point of the observer. And the way they came up with this was called the double slit experiment. The double slit experiment, they were trying to study the behavior of particles, in this case electrons. If they reacted as waves, if they reacted as little balls or particles, and studying it, whatever they expected the outcome of the study to be was the actual outcome of the study. So no matter what, the point of view of the observer has a literal effect on the physical manifestation of the expression of those specific particles. So it's fair to say that our expectations can physically affect the reality around us. Now, to what degree, to what extent, depends on the amount of power that you have as a human being. As we mentioned in the last episode, the amount of ability for you to broadcast your signal. How much power do you have, and how much power does your mind have in order to literally affect reality? Now, there might be a time lapse in how you affect reality, but the more thought you put into something, and the more energy you put into something, the more likely or more probability will exist for that situation to actually create itself and exist. A perfect example of the power of the unconscious mind, or the power of the mind itself, is the placebo effect. In order for any psychological or pharmaceutical study to be concluded as valid, they have to include the placebo effect. What is the placebo effect? I give you a pill that tells you that this is going to cure you, but it's really just made out of sugar, and when you take it, it cures your ailment, or cures whatever symptoms that you have regarding what ailment you have. So they have to include the fact that because people believe that they are going to be cured by that pill, literally cures them. That's the power of the human mind. Scientists still can't explain why that exists, but they need to include it in order for their actual studies to be concluded as valid. Certain cultures and certain spiritual beliefs throughout the world and throughout mankind's history have led to many different types of what we call miracles, right? Healing, spontaneous healing experience, whether you're healing yourself or healing others. Meditation and bringing the mind to certain levels where people could go days without eating or drinking. People go days without sleeping or being able to stand in a certain position. Like, the mind has the ability to be molded and be molded to the point where there is no limitations to it. It can be molded to the point where it is so free that you can maintain something or express something in physical reality the way you see fit. Another perfect example is Buddhist monks or Tibetan monks laying on a bed of nails, or Tibetan monks heating their bodies up to the point that they could actually dry wet cold blankets on their body. It is in the unconscious mind that we are sensitive because we have impacts on each other. When somebody comes up to you and tells you something positive about yourself, you feel really good. When somebody tells you something negative, it has the ability to bring you down and make you feel bad. This is the power of suggestion, and it's also the power of our word, meaning that we need to be conscious of our word because we know that we can actually literally affect the people around us. On top of that, we can actually use the power of suggestion and bring it inwards, and when we suggest something to ourselves, we will most likely perform that specific action. For example, if I say I can't do something, I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to put myself in a position to sabotage myself to not do it because I'm constantly saying I can't do that, I can't do that. If you can, and you say you will, then you will most likely do it. The power of suggestion allows you to bring yourself to open that space and open those doors for you to be able to take those specific action. Now, when you use the power of suggestion in a positive manner, and specifically towards yourself, that is called an affirmation. The power of affirmation is amazing because you are programming yourself the way that you want to program yourself. You're programming your life the way that you want to live it. So by you affirming that you are beautiful because you are, and that you are intelligent because you are, that you are smart, that you are a go-getter, that you can say anything. You fill in the blank with a positive word, and you constantly affirm to yourself that this is what you are, you will most likely act within that specific behavior. And I used to do this with my middle school students. Every day before class, we would have our daily affirmation. And our daily affirmation is, I am smart, or I am beautiful, or yes, I can. The kids loved it. They would sit down ready for class, ready to go, ready to learn, believing within themselves that they were intelligent enough to take on the day. We can do this within ourselves as adults, or we can teach these to our kids so that they constantly learn to affirm the beauty that they are, because it's not a lie. You are that. You can say that you're ugly, but you're gonna affirm it and believe it, and that's what you're gonna be. But you can either choose the negative or you can choose the positive. I'd rather choose the positive. I'd rather see you and hear you choose the positive for yourself. Now, our ability to control our unconscious mind comes from our ability to pay attention to our thought processes. So So maybe sometimes when you're laying down in bed and your thoughts are going by you, sort of pay attention, observe. Be the observer, the same way the observers were in the experiment. Pay attention to how thoughts are floating by and where are they arising from. Are they coming, what kind of place are they coming from, and are they actually important? Do they really matter? Do you have the ability to shut down a thought and start a new one? You can actually play with the power of the unconscious mind and learn to master it so that you can program yourself to be the way that you want to be. If you set a limit to your mind, you will live up to that limit. If you set your mind to infinity, you will live towards infinity. You are so important that all the stars and all the suns and all the planets and all the galaxies are all spinning and interacting with each other in the way that they are so that you're here. If they weren't reacting in that way, you wouldn't be here today. Planet Earth wouldn't exist. So we function at the highest, most grand level galactically, and we function at the most minute, most smallest way and particle-wise in the way that everything reacts. You are as grand and as minute as you want to be. We are all and we are nothing. We are what we say we are. We are here to create ourselves and live the life that we want to live.